I just lost 10.7K tonight in a game I should never ever lose that much in. I'm trying to think and reflect about how much of this was run bad versus bad play. How much of this was good call down versus ego driven behavior. But I do know that whatever it is that happened tonight, I need to fix right away. And so I'm gonna go over the hands with you guys and tell you guys what I like and what I don't like. We'll figure out together what went wrong. But over the next few days, I'm gonna work my ass off to get back to where we need to be. Time is ticking and I don't want to make any excuses. Over the next few days, we're going to get back to where we need to be by playing real strong poker, putting in the volume because volume cures variance, and just bring our best selves for the rest of the month. I'm going to take you guys for the ride and let's get this back to where this needs to go. We open our +1 to $15 with Queen Jack suited. Andrew, Aaron, and On call. We're going 4 ways to the flop. The flop is Ace Jack 4, 2 clubs. When On checks it to us, we don't want to bloat the pot up out of position multi-way, so we check. The rest checks as well. The turn brings us some help as we now have trips. This time, On leads out for $80. There's a fair chance that On doesn't have a jack, especially with that sizing. We want to keep top pair in, so we just make a call. When Andrew also makes the call, we're a bit surprised. At this point, I still believe I have the better hand though. The river brings in an 8 of clubs, completing the front door flush. On checks, and so do I, as Andrew is the likeliest of us to have a flush. Andrew bets 2/3 and On calls. We feel like On most likely has an ace, and for a reasonable price, we just put in a call as well. Not surprised we lost, but definitely surprised Andrew has a boat there. Optimized raises in the +1 at $35. Joking calls in a small blind, and I close the action. The flop is 7-6-2 rainbow. When Joking checks, this range favors us in the blinds, and I have a good hand to take this down with. I lead out for 3/4 pot, $80, and get raised to $250. Optimize has a lot of pairs in his range that could raise for value, but with a good pair plus backdoors, I'm not ready to give up yet, so I make the call. The turn brings a 7 of hearts, pairing the board and giving us a backdoor flush draw. Generally, this 7 should be strong for my range based on the flop's action. I check and Optimize checks too. The river is a 5 of hearts, completing our flush. We lead out for value with a 2/3 bet, $400. And once again, Optimize raises us. This time, all in. We still beat a ton of his value range, so we don't hesitate to make the snap call. But he shows us a disguised boat, especially after that turn check. It's a nice play, since I think I give up at some frequency there when he bets again on the turn. But tough run out. I don't know if I can ever get away from that hand. After the previous hand, we reload another 2.5K. Good timing since I look down to pocket tens. There's a limp in front of us though, so I raise to 60. Andrew, who I've been getting into a ton of big pots with, 3-bets at a 210. Against a big blind 3-bet, button gets to call with a ton. And with a hand as strong as tens, it's an easy call. Heads up to the flop. The flop is 9-2-2, 2 diamonds. All things considered, it's a great flop for us. But Andrew does c-bet, as he should, to 300. We make the call. The turn is a 7 of hearts, bringing in the backdoor flush. This time, Andrew bets half pot. Additional draws came in, but I can't fold an overpair here, so I make the call. The river is a 3 of diamonds, completing the front door flush. Must be what he was looking for since he snap jammed the river. In the moment, we didn't think his overpairs would jam, so we eliminate most of those combos. I have a ton of hands with Andrew, and know he's not afraid to put chimps in, which makes me lean more towards a call. Ultimately, I decided to randomize this 40-60, weighted towards a call, but I'm not gonna lie. When process told us to fold, we decided to put in a call anyway, getting 2-1 and only needing to be right 33% of the time. I know you see ace 3 off on screen, but he actually did have it. Ace 10 of diamonds for the nut flush. So it's only been 35 minutes, and already we've gotten stacked twice. At this point, I think I'm down about 5K or so. In the +2 again, and I open it up to 15 with ace 7 suited. Andrew calls in a cutoff. Aaron's on the button and he 3-bets it at 80. If we were heads up, weak suited aces out of position can be folded. But with Andrew in the middle, I feel like I have decent odds to see a flop, so I make the call. And of course, Andrew calls. 3 ways to the flop. The flop is Jack 7-6 rainbow. Andrew and I check, and Aaron c-bets at a 150. On this board texture, I have a huge nut advantage. I have plenty of 2-pair plus combinations in my range versus a buttons 3-bet range that is mostly 1 pair and air, so I decide to make a move. I raised it at 350, hoping to first fold out air. When Aaron makes the call, my next bet is to begin folding out overpairs. So when the turn is a 4 of clubs, I can continue to tell the story, this time with a 2/3 bet. $600. Aaron calls. The plan now is to polarize on most rivers, especially in ace, 7, 5, or 3. However, when the queen of hearts come out, I don't feel great. Aaron has kings and queens here a ton, if not 2 pair by this river. I decided to just give up, and thank goodness. I didn't realize he had a set of jacks until now reviewing this hand. I personally like my play here, but the session has been marked with bad timing and call downs. I guess I'm just glad the river wasn't a 7. On raises is +2 to 30. It folds to us on the button, and here we go, pocket kings. Against a call heavy opponent, we get to use larger sizing, so we raise it up to 125. Tillman calls in a small blind, and On closes the action. 3 ways to the flop. The flop is Jack 9-6, 2 clubs. Tillman checks and on donks out. On tends to lead with top pair, so we're fairly confident we can raise him here for value before any scare cards kill the action. We raise it to 750. Immediately, Tillman begins weighing his options. I can feel a jam coming, and I'm thinking the same thing as the commentator.
You know you can't put him on jacks, but you could put him on 6s or 9s. I think if he shoves, I think he can get JWIN off his hand because it's Tillman. Wow, he does go all in. Tillman also has a backdoor flush draw, but that doesn't really, it's not really factoring in. He's just really using his table image and trying to bluff through this. I think the king's fold. Wow! Tillman got away with it, although he did have outs.
So yeah, Tillman has a tight image, and he used it to get me to fold and overpair. Kudos to Tillman for outplaying me here. So now we're shorthanded. Button raises to 30, and we're next in the small blind. We have pocket 9s, and we 3-bet at a 120. Ifan is in a straddle, and he 4-bets at a 350. Button gets out the way, and we now have our first decision. If we call, the pot will be 700, with an effective SPR of 3, heading to the flop. It's hard to fold pairs, especially blind versus blind, so here we go. The flop is 8-3-2 rainbow. We check, and Ifan bets 500. With an overpair, we're not leaving yet, so we make the call. On a 4 of clubs, we check again, and this time Ifan goes all in for 1.5k. We're getting roughly 2 to 1, and we still have an overpair. After some thought, I just can't fold. My general rule is that I can call down with overpairs when the flop SPR is 3 or less. Unfortunately, we lose this one, and it's another big pot. Let me know what you think of this one though. Can we ever fold an overpair on the turn? Hit me up in the comments.
Alright, so nightmare of a session. I think I'm down 11k right now in what should be a very small game for me. Oh man, I mean, we're just flopping high equity hands and getting rushed on turns and rivers, and then put in all-in situations where I don't think when we're getting 2 to 1 to 3 to 1 or whatever, we can ever fold, especially in a blind versus blind situation or a button versus big blind situation. This is one of those days. Just gotta play it one hand at a time and not let it get to us.
It folds too high in a cutoff, and he raises it to 85. Ace queen off is usually a call, but I know that high can get splashy and show up to flops with a wider range. Because of this, I take the opportunity to isolate and play in position by 3-betting him to 275. It folds back to high, and he takes a moment before calling. The flop is ace jack 7, 2 hearts. When high checks it to me, I'm thinking this is a good spot to check it back. It's not something I usually want to do, but I just felt like the hesitation with calling the pre-flop 3-bet is just going to lead to a fold here if I bet. So that's what I do. The turn is a 3 of hearts, completing the front door flush. High bet small, 175. This feels like a pro bet, which is what I want. Besides, with the ace and the jack of hearts on the board and the queen of hearts in our hand, this only leaves king 10 of hearts as a reasonable flush based on the sizing, as I believe a smaller suited connector flushes would be betting larger for protection. Based on this read, we're happy with the smooth call. The river is a 10 of clubs, bringing in multiple straights and 2 pairs. High doesn't make it difficult for us, however, and he puts out a small blocker bet. I snap it off, and he tells me he has a pair of 9s. Pretty happy with the slow play this time, as I believe I got max value from a smaller pair. So the session's been slow and pretty difficult for us, until this hand. There's a 40 straddle on. It folds to high, who's on the button. He raises it to 150. With ace king suited, it's a pure 3-bet from the small blind, so 650 it is. When it folds back to high, he pumps it up to 1.8k. We started this hand under 150 bigs, so while it's uncomfortable, it's an easy and straightforward jam for us. High snaps it off though, and he shows us aces. I know what you're thinking. I'm about to get stacked for the 4th time this episode, but all I'm asking is for you to believe and to hit that like button so we can use our one time. I'll let the footage do the talking from here.
I'm very live. Fucking shit. Are you serious?
If you beg us, I'll be like,
Oh god. This is looking real bad. Jack of clubs.
Drop the clubs.
it's king.
No, it's only that. You got it, huh? Oh my god.
That's so bad.
You got it. Oh my god.
Even Matt has an emotional reaction to this.
No,
oh god.
Counts, sir.
Alright, Hi, dinner on me. Dinner on me.
I need dinners.
Big shout out to Hi for congratulating me and not making me feel dirtier than I was feeling. I don't usually record faces, but Hi's a good friend, and I thought I'd capture the moment for the vlog. Hope you guys enjoy this one. It certainly saved my session. We stay for another couple of hours, but really, this was the only thing worth sharing. There's a straddle to 25, plus 3 limps before LoJack raises it to 100. Only the small blind calls before we look down to pocket kings. We 3-betted to 400, and surprisingly, the limp caller calls. LoJack gets out the way, and somehow, high in a small blind wants to get involved. We're going 3 ways to a flop. The flop is king, queen, 8, 2 diamonds, giving us top set. When high checks it to us, we decide to go with the largest sizing, targeting straight and flush draws, which people tend to overpay on. No need to use small sizing since smaller pairs will most likely fold anyway, so why not charge the max? Unfortunately, no one has anything worth a call, and both opponents insta-muck. Still, we were able to get decent value from the pre-flop action.
Another day, another stream, off to work we go. So, card dead on the stream until we found an interesting spot. Slicer raises from the cutoff and gets 3-bet by Andrew. Andrew and I have been getting into huge pots lately. One thing to know about him is that he's full of surprises and has a well thought out strategy. But this does include a lot of air though. So when we look down and see king jack off, we feel like a forward bet can take down the ample dead money. We raise it to 1.1k, but surprisingly get called. Off to a flop. The flop is 9-5-3, 2 clubs. In a 4-bet pot under this board, we can either bet or check. But given that Andrew 3-bet and called a 4-bet in position, he has a ton of strong calling hands. I decide that it's best to just check and see if we can improve. So I check, and Andrew checks it back. When a 4 of spades come on the turn, I think we're pretty close to giving up here. Nothing changes, so we don't have much reason to lead out. We check, and once again, Andrew does the same. The river bails us out with an offsuit king. I haven't been doing the best job getting paid on rivers lately, so this time I decided to deploy a bet fold range and lead out for 3/4 pot, $1,600. No tough spot though, as Andrew folds. I don't know what he actually has, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had the dirty diaper, as he's shown down his hand numerous times in the past week or so. So when I lose big hands to Andrew, y'all need to know that this is a part of why I need to overcall. This isn't a big pot or anything, but I thought the mechanics were worth calling out. It folds to me on the button, and with 10-4 suited, I'm happy to play a pot in position. I raise it to 75 and get called by On and Slicer. 3 ways to a flop. The flop is 10-9-9 rainbow. With top pair, we can either go for a bet or see a turn, but against 2 others, it's reasonable for any of them to have trips, or a reasonable check raising hand like Jack 8 or Queen Jack. For this reason, I opted for a check, hoping to see a low card on turn. The turn is an 8, completing multiple straights and potential boats. When it checks to me, I don't think it's necessary to protect my hand, so I check it back. When a 4-liner comes on the river, On leads out for a pot-sized bet. Here, I have a pretty good bluff catcher, but there's a ton of hands that still beat me. On is certainly capable of bluffing, but he has so many value hands in his range, so I'm okay not paying off a pot-sized bet. Glad to see that I played the hand well and that I didn't put any more money into the pot unnecessarily, which is something that I'm constantly working on. Another small pot, but good mechanics. So Andrew raises his cutoff and gets smooth called by Manny in the small blind. Finally got a pretty pair of ladies, and it's a pure 3-bet from us to 375. Andrew folds, and Manny once again makes a smooth call. I was chatting with Manny throughout the evening, really nice guy, but not a regular at the game. So when he smooth calls twice like this, his hand could contain all the medium pairs as well as large Broadway cards. Off to a flop, we get King 5-3 rainbow. The board's pretty dry, so there's very little I could get value from. And my queens are fairly strong. I don't need any protection as opposed to a medium pair like 9s or 8s, where I'm gonna do a lot of c-betting. I check it back and make this a 2-street game. The turn is a jack of hearts, bringing in the backdoor flush. With the queen of hearts though, we block ace queen, king queen, queen 10, etc. That would have played the same way, so this backdoor flush draw is most likely irrelevant. We check it again as Manny's range has a lot of air we want to keep in. The turn is an offsuit 8. This time, Manny bets 275, and of course, we snap call and win. I think regardless of what line I take, there's probably a chance that 275 was going to get put into the pot. But my line on this particular hand ensures that the pot doesn't need to get bigger unnecessarily, and that most likely my queens were the best hand. All right, so final thoughts on all of the sessions. First, the 10.7K, I'm still digesting a lot of information. I'm still working on the big hands, but I'd love to know what you guys think. You guys think I punted off several of those all-ins? Or do you think you guys would have made some of the same big calls, given the information that we know about our opponents? Curious to know what you guys think, but really the premise of this vlog was always, we're gonna take big losses. And that 10.7K, which is roughly around 1,000 big blinds, that's probably one of my biggest losses ever in terms of big blinds. And so the premise of this vlog was really to show you guys some of the things that I go through and how I think about coming back. Now I'm glad I did have, a good couple of games afterward. Let's talk numbers. In the first game, we were in for 15.4K and out for 4.7K for roughly about that 10.7K loss. We went right back at it the next day at the lodge, where we were in for 6K and out for 12.4K. Of course, a lot of that was that ace king versus aces hand, and thank God we won that one, but we get 6.4K back. Immediately after, we went on a 5-10-20 live stream at TCH, where we were in the game for 7K and out the game for roughly 9.7K for a gain of 2.6K. Unfortunately, I actually stayed all night. I didn't have my camera on, but we got cooled off pretty bad. There was something like Queen 10-10 where we had Queen 10 and the turn was a jack, and that person had Jack or something like that, I think. But whatever it was, we got stacks in and I ended up giving back 2.3. So let's talk month to date numbers. We made some back, and I think we're roughly about 7.8K or so for the month. You know, not great, but at the end of the day, I'm not entitled to any of my results. And my focus for the next, whatever it is, 11 or 12 days is really just to play good poker. So y'all stick with me. Hopefully over the next couple of vlogs, we can make some money back and end the month on a good note. It's really important for me to finish up this quarter on a good note. Yeah, we'll see where we are. And then if you guys are interested, I'm happy to make a mid-year update, let you guys know how the year's been going. But anyways, if you guys appreciated this vlog, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'm only like 20 something subscribers away from 10K. So y'all just do me a favor. If you follow my stuff and you like it, just hit the subscribe button. All right, guys, hope you guys have a great weekend, weekday, poker session, day at work, whatever it is. Y'all be great. Stay safe. Peace.